Hi there, this is Sheena Rowlands and today I'm sharing with you my latest layout for Just Nick Studio, featuring their cut files. Here we have Autumn Leaves 3 and Leaves 6. But in fact there's plenty of Leaves cut files on their site and we'll talk about that a bit later. For this layout I'd like to use this photo of my son and his fiancée, and beneath it I've got a lot of Vicki Boutin papers. So I actually want to trim the photograph and make it circular. So I don't really want to cut straight into the photograph with my silhouette until I'm absolutely sure. So I've used a piece of white copier paper on the silhouette mat, placing it in the top left hand corner, and I'm just checking where I want that circle to be for the photograph. So I'm going to lay the paper over the top, and as you can see there's a bit of photo paper above. So I'm actually going to mark that with a pencil. I'm going to trim that off. So I've done this a few times in the past. I don't know whether, I just thought I'd show you what I do, whether you've ever cut photos with your silhouette before. Obviously you don't want to ruin them, so that's why I always check with copier paper first. So if I match the left hand corners together, the circle should be exactly where I want it. So I'm putting the photo on the cutting mat, using that top left corner as my reference, trying again with the copier paper before I put it in the silhouette. So this is it afterwards, and it's a perfect circle and it's cut exactly the way that I wanted it over the image. I would say there's a sewing phrase, I think it's measure twice, cut once, and that's something I do with the silhouette for something like cutting a photograph. I will always try it on copier paper first, just to make sure that it's exactly where I want it, because it's so annoying when you get it wrong. So these are Vicki Boutin papers, I think I mentioned that already. The majority are from the Fernwood range, but there are a few others mixed in. I picked them mainly to cut the leaves out of. I also picked out papers that weren't full size. I find it easier to use pieces rather than full papers. So using the leaf cut files, and there's loads on the Just Nick site. As you can see, I picked out lots of colours to go with the photo. I've cut out lots of random leaves. Some of them are just outlines, some of them are literally just like the veiny, like skeleton leaves, and I'm going to do like a wreath shape around this photograph. So I've decided now that I'd like to put a circle of paper behind the photograph just to help lift it off, and I'm trying to work out where I want that circle, where it's going to be on there. So I've cut it slightly bigger than the photo just because I'm going to use that edging. So I'm just bringing some double-sided tape, stick the photo to the background circle. This is a foam mat that I've got, and I'm just bringing in a sharp pokey tool, and I'm going to go around the photo and poke some holes in it. So doing a layout like this is an absolutely perfect way of using up leftover pieces of paper, or pieces that are say 6 by 4. I've decided I'm going to sew around this circle, so I'm bringing in some different threads, and in the end I choose like a pinky peach colour that I think would be nice to go round the photograph. It takes me a bit to thread the needle. I end up using a needle threader. I find that helps me not split the sewing threads, because I'm actually going to use all 6 strands for this. And I'm going to do what I call the page chain stitch. Chain stitch is a known embroidery stitch, but years ago Paige Taylor Evans did a video on how to do it easily, and that's the method that I'm using. So you start off with just a single like running stitch, and then you go underneath that to make the next chain. I will do a tutorial on this, but it's very much Paige's idea. So you come through the hole, you go back up underneath the stitch before and round back down into the hole. Down one, next hole, back underneath, and then back down. So it looks like a chain, and it is a chain, but it's just a different direction of working. When you get to the last stitch, you actually just put another single stitch into it, so it looks double, so it does work. Now these leaves were not put into position in any sense. They were just tucked around the photo as I was cutting them. Some of them I've even turned the papers over and light the pattern side on the other side. So I've decided actually I like the randomness of it. That gives the autumnal feel that I was after. So I'm bringing in some wet glue, and I'm literally going to just stick down the stalks that I can reach. And then I'll see what comes loose, and I'll just work my way around. So it looks a bit messy, but I just like the randomness of it. I think the colours, I must have spaced them out as I was trying to work out whether I cut enough leaves. I have got a couple of extras cut on the side that aren't tucked in at the minute, so if I do spot any gaps, as I get that far, then I will probably stick them in as well. So I just keep bringing the photo and just popping it over the top just to make sure that I'm not moving these leaves too much and showing too much of the centre of the dark paper. As you can see, I've still got the manufacturer's strip on that piece of paper because I didn't want to move it with all the loose leaves on. So once they're all stuck down, that will be cut off, but I just didn't want to risk tipping them all off and starting all over again. So that's why I've gone with the direction in which they are put in. So as I say, have a good look at the Just Next store. There are cut files being added on a weekly basis. There's some really lovely autumnal ones and like Halloween ones as well. So some great choices for this time of year. The photo that I've used for this of my son and his fiancée was actually taken on their engagement shoot. So I thought with all those cut logs behind, it would be perfect to make an autumnal layout, even though it was actually taken, I think it was February time, maybe March. So as you can see, they're all stuck down and I've trimmed the manufacturer's strip off. Just putting some foam, crafter's foam on the back of the photo, just so that I can actually lift it above those stalks so it really looks like they're all tucked in. I'm just making sure I've got that reasonably central. I never thought to measure it before I stuck the leaves down, so I'm just having a look, just tweaking that. It's only a bit of double-sided tape at the moment holding that down, so I can actually mess with it a little bit. So once I've finally decided where that's going to go, and I really like the way the sewing lifts that. Also, while I'm thinking about it, the sewing actually covers the edge of the photograph, so I punch the holes in on the edge of the photo, and I find that actually covers the cut edge. So even though it was cut on the silhouette, it possibly wasn't as smooth as it could have been. So I think the stitching really covers that beautifully. So I've actually curled some of the leaves up a little bit just to give it literally that 3D feel. And I'm just coming in with these title words. These are actually a Hip Kit exclusive, I think from last year. They were in one of their kits, and I was just looking for something to be able to colour match with. They were from the Cozy Up exclusive collection that they did, which I think was last autumn. So I'm just cutting the words off on the background plastic at the moment so I can see how they look on that top half of the circle. I don't really want them to stand out too much. I want the photo to be the star of attention. So at the moment it says love this story. I actually change it nearer the end and it will say this love story. Just a little technical difference there. So I've got some of these gold puffy sticker leaves. These are Jen Hadfield. I must have had 2 or 3 packets of these, and I found a whole packet and I tucked it away with some of my autumnal collections, and that was very, I was very pleased to find those. So I'm just going to tuck in a few of these gold puffy leaves and like sprigs, just to add another layer to these leaves. Just a few. I think I do them in 5 or 6 different places, or maybe even an odd number probably, just to add a touch more. But I feel like it really doesn't need very much more now to get this layout finished. I really feel like I've accomplished quite a lot using up lots of bits of paper. I'm trying not to keep anything now scrap wise if it's smaller than 6x4, unless it would really be useful, because I do find that as scrapbookers we're hoarders generally as well, aren't we? I mean, obviously our supplies are precious, so I can understand it, but I have tried to stash bust while I've cut all these leaves. So I'm now coming in, just adding a few more of those puffy stickers. I think I add some wet glue eventually because they don't stick very well to the skeleton leaves, and also because I've moved them around a couple of times, they're not as sticky necessarily as they could be. So I'm just going to get those into the final position, and then I haven't actually stuck down the title either, so I do need to remember to do that, because at the moment they're just sitting there on their plastic backgrounds. So this is when I decide actually I might move the words around a little bit, and they're quite bendy, so I feel like I can manipulate them actually to sit on the sewing line. So that's what I'm going to do, because I want to get them to follow the curve of the circle. So they're very easy as they're puffy stickers to manipulate in that way. So this is when it says this love story. They're slightly different colours, but they are actually all very, they're all tone on tone type things. So they all work really well with the leaves that I've got there. I just want to make sure that it starts and finishes in a similar place. So I'm going to bring in the ruler, typical me, just to see, so that it's on the top half of that photograph. So I think I like the way that that works. So here's me just showing you some of the layers and showing you the title in place. And I will show you the finished image and some close-ups as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. Give us a thumbs up. If anything you want to discuss, leave that for me in the comments. Always like seeing and hearing what you've got to say. And do check out the Just Nick store to see all their leaf cut files. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.